time for coffee. Talk presented by Spotify. Fresh vibes, real talk.
Let's get started, shall we?
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our new short radio show. This is Coffee Talk in the Morning, and presented by Spotify. We would like to thank our cast and crew for making this show happen. This will be an extension of our big show, Coffee Talk, with Kennedy Lucas and the crew. I'm Terry. Okay, so imagine this. A robot, not just any robot, but a humanoid one playing with kids' blocks. Now, what if I told you that the same robot is being developed to one day serve as a soldier on the battlefield?
That's a wild image to start with. A robot soldier playing with blocks. It's like the ultimate juxtaposition of innocence and something potentially dangerous.
Exactly. That's what Zoe Corbin found when she visited Foundation Robotics in San Francisco. She expected to see something straight out of a sci-fi action movie, a menacing combat-ready machine. Instead, she found Phantom, their humanoid robot, engaged in what they call free play. It's part of how they're teaching it to interact with its environment.
That's such an interesting approach. It's like they're treating the robot as if it's a child learning through play, but why blocks? Why not something more, I don't know, military-like?
Well, according to Sanket Pathak, the CEO of Foundation Robotics, this kind of interaction is crucial for gathering data. The robot needs to learn how to navigate the unpredictable real world. And let's be honest, the real world is messy, chaotic, and full of surprises. Teaching a robot to handle that is no small feat.
That's true. The unpredictability of real-world environments is a huge challenge for robotics. So what's the end goal here? Are they really trying to create a robot soldier, or is this more of a stepping stone towards something else?
The ultimate goal is to develop humanoid robots that can perform a wide range of military tasks, from supply pickup and reconnaissance to recovering equipment or casualties. But yes, they're also exploring the idea of frontline weaponization, which means arming these robots to engage and neutralize threats.
That's where things start to get a little controversial, doesn't it? The idea of arming robots is a big leap, both ethically and practically. What's their argument for doing this?
Pathak argues that arming robots could keep human soldiers out of harm's way. For example, these robots could enter and search buildings where choke points can be deadly. He also claims that land-based autonomy could be more precise than, say, drone strikes from the air, potentially reducing collateral damage.
That's an interesting point. Precision is always a concern in military operations, but how far along are they in this process? Are these robots anywhere near ready for combat?
Not quite. The first-generation model, Phantom MK1, is still pretty limited. It doesn't have a battery, isn't dustproof or waterproof, and can't even get back up if it falls. But they're already working on the second-generation model, the Phantom MK2, which promises to be much more advanced.
What kind of improvements are we talking about with the MK2?
The MK2 will have a large battery that provides about 6 hours of runtime. It'll be able to recover if it falls, and it'll have better hands. These hands are crucial because they'll allow the robot to manipulate tools and potentially fire weapons.
That's a huge leap forward. But even with those improvements, there are still so many challenges to overcome, right? I mean, teaching a robot to navigate a battlefield is a lot more complicated than teaching it to stack blocks.
Absolutely. One of the biggest challenges is developing the AI system that powers the robot. Foundation Robotics uses an AI system called Cortex, which relies on two types of models, a reasoning model and a world model. The reasoning model focuses on task-specific goals, while the world model predicts how the environment will respond.
That sounds like a pretty sophisticated system, but how does it actually work in practice?
The idea is that Phantom is given a goal, like moving supplies or mapping the inside of a building. It then uses cameras in its helmet to navigate its environment, providing 360-degree vision. The AI system assesses the surroundings and adapts the robot's movements accordingly.
That's impressive, but it also sounds incredibly complex. Are there any experts weighing in on whether this approach is actually feasible?
Yes. Robert Griffin from the Florida Institute for Human and Machine Cognition has pointed out that these systems still struggle with open-ended uncertainty. For example, Getting a robot to jump through a window of unknown height, land on uneven ground, and then navigate an unfamiliar interior is incredibly difficult.
That makes sense. Real-world environments are so unpredictable. And then there's the issue of battery life. 6 hours might sound like a lot, but is that really enough for a military operation?
Probably not. Battery life is a major limitation for all humanoid robots. Locomotion and moving joints are incredibly power intensive, and then there's the challenge of building hands that can manipulate tools or weapons designed for humans. These are not easy problems to solve.
No, they're not. And while Foundation Robotics is optimistic, there are plenty of skeptics out there. Dean Fankhauser from RoboZaps, for example, points out that today's commercial humanoid robots can barely handle warehouse tasks, let alone something as complex as combat.
Fankhauser also questions whether the humanoid form is even the best choice for military applications. Quadruped robots, for example, are often better at navigating rough terrain. They're faster, more stable, and less complex to build.
That's a great point. So why is Foundation Robotics sticking with the humanoid design?
Pathak argues that the world is built for humans, so humanoid robots can use existing tools and equipment without the need for reinvention. But is that enough to justify all the added complexity? That's still up for debate.
And then there's the ethical dimension, which is perhaps the most contentious aspect of all. Nicole Van Rooyen from Stop Killer Robots raises some really chilling concerns about the implications of arming robots.
She argues that lethal autonomous weapons, regardless of their form, lower the barrier to warfare, dehumanize conflict, and blur accountability. And the humanoid form factor adds another layer of complexity. Human-like machines might appear familiar and trustworthy, which could make it harder for people to recognize the potential dangers they pose.
That's a slippery slope, isn't it? Once you start deploying humanoid robots in military settings, it's hard to draw the line. Pathak insists that humans should always be in the loop, approving any use of lethal force. But even he acknowledges scenarios where firing autonomously might be necessary to avoid catastrophic outcomes.
And that's where the ethical debate gets really murky. Who decides when it's acceptable for a robot to act autonomously? And how do you ensure accountability if something goes wrong? These are questions that don't have easy answers.
No, they don't. And it's not just about the here and now. As Fankhauser said, things might look very different in 5 or 10 years. The technology is advancing rapidly, and so are the stakes. The race to develop these systems is already underway, with countries like China making significant investments in similar technologies.
Which brings us back to Pathak's argument that the West needs to keep up. He sees humanoid robots as a critical component of future military strategy, and with $24 million in research contracts and units being tested by the US and Ukrainian militaries, it's clear that there's interest at the highest levels.
But interest doesn't necessarily mean readiness. As Griffin pointed out, human soldiers can still outsmart AI systems by doing things that are out of the ordinary, like somersaulting or putting cardboard boxes over their heads. The gap between what these robots can do in controlled environments and what they need to do in real-world scenarios is still significant.
Absolutely. And that's before we even get into the broader societal implications. What happens when these technologies trickle down into civilian life? How do we regulate their use? And how do we address the ethical concerns that come with creating machines capable of lethal force?
Those are the big questions, aren't they? And they're not going away anytime soon. For now, it seems like we're at a crossroads. The technology is advancing, but the ethical and practical challenges are just as daunting. It's a fascinating, if uneasy, glimpse into the future.
It really is. And as much as we might want clear answers, the reality is that this is uncharted territory. We'll just have to wait and see how it all unfolds.
Wake up in the morning.
Wake up, Atlanta. It's time for coffee. Talk presented by Spotify. Fresh vibes, real talk.
Let's get started, shall we?
Yeah.